Coming to you from the Hill Country in the beautiful state of Texas. We are not licensed professionals. We are not therapists. This is for entertainment purposes only. If you are struggling with addiction or any other mental conditions, please seek professional help. Please be advised, some topics may not be appropriate for young or sensitive audiences. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So, if you listen to Abortion Part 1, you are all caught up and you are ready to engage. If not, please backtrack, listen to Abortion Part 1 so you understand the flow of what is happening in this episode. Where we left off was talking about the domestic dynamic of this young lady in her living environment and how things evolved into the situation we're about to explain. We appreciate you listening to us. We value your opinions. Please email us with any questions, concerns, comments. Here we go. This young man's family has some money. They were able to provide for not just the young man, but this beautiful young lady and help with the child. It was kind of his way or no way, and she was kind of under a thumb just to make sense. And once she got a little older and the child got a little older, she had people in her life and better resources, and she was able to get away from that. She's very grateful for the resources these people gave her, but the common denominator is that the child's father kind of had her under his thumb because his family were the ones helping provide and do these things for her and the child, as at the time she pretty much had no one. And the people that she did have in her life weren't able to do for her the way that this family was. So I just wanted to clarify that. But yeah, so continue with your story as far as you were praying to God that you weren't about to go round 2 with the same bad decision. Not that the baby was a bad decision, but that the act was a bad decision.
It was a bad decision. Yes. Well, and I kind of do want to backtrack a little bit. When I was 5 months pregnant with my daughter now, I was at such a low point with him and his family and my living situation that I scheduled an abortion for my daughter 5 months pregnant because I could not imagine having to live the rest of my life in contact with these people. Like, it was like getting suicidal almost, like, just to keep it real.
So let me make sense of this. So you already have a toddler, right? You already have a toddler.
That I backtracked when I was pregnant with.
Right. So you already have a toddler.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are. You have a toddler. Then you meet up with this young man. You're getting along. You're doing these things. You're having this conversation, and you just kind of happens.
Yes.
So then you fornicate, make love, have sex, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Yeah.
And you pray to God, not again, not again, not again. But when you're backtracking, you're talking about
when I was pregnant with my daughter.
In the beginning.
The daughter I have now that's 3 years old.
Right.
That is just to kind of give some clarification as to how bad the situation was.
So you considered an abortion based on your situation?
I scheduled an abortion fully, and then I had a moral moment.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Obviously, I was super far into my pregnancy at that point, which played a huge part in it, but I couldn't do it. But that's just to kind of give some clarification as to how mentally awful this situation I was in. So now fast forward back to the current situation. I was praying to God that I wasn't pregnant, and I kept waiting for my period, waiting. And we're 3 weeks in now, so I know I could take a pregnancy test and find out if I'm pregnant. So I go and I get like a whole box of them. P positive, P positive, P positive. And I'm just sitting on the floor of my bathroom, like sobbing, crying, because I, first of all, am so disappointed in myself that I would allow myself to be in this situation again. But I also know from the get-go that there's only one option, because I have already been through so much just to get to the point where I am now. And she's only 4 months old. So in my mind, there was no other option from the beginning. There was one option only, and I didn't feel bad about it. I scheduled the abortion. I went to New Mexico. We traveled, because it's illegal here. We traveled to New Mexico for the abortion. I got the procedure done, and I came home, and that was it. Considering my feelings after the fact, that one's so hard to talk about, because I don't regret it at all. There's a little bit of morale in me that's like on the fence about it, because
So there's remorse, but not regret.
I wouldn't even say remorse.
Okay.
Because I don't feel bad about it, and I don't regret it.
And you would do it again?
If I was back in that situation, knowing everything I know now, I would do it again. Not that if that happened to me again, I would do it again. But in that situation with him, at that point in my life, I was freshly 18. I had a 4-month-old, and this was the family I had to tend to all over again. I would book that flight as fast as I did the first time.
So we have another pro-choice.
So let me ask you this. When you say that you went, okay, so for our listeners, we are in Texas. How many years ago was this? 2 years? 3 years? 2 years? 2.5 years ago? So 2.5 years ago, abortion was illegal in the state of Texas. Do you know that I didn't even freaking know that until she went through this? I didn't even know that, like, you couldn't, I had no idea, right? So when you say that you went to New Mexico, I want you to share with our listeners what that experience was. I don't mean to be insensitive and say how easy it was for you, because I know it wasn't easy for you. But as far as resources, can you please explain to the listeners how that worked?
So there are a lot of resources that are specifically for women who are in states where it is illegal. There's tons of people, I guess they just have huge donors, and they kind of just like help you financially, because getting an abortion is hard when you're in a legal state, but it's expensive. It's very expensive. You have to pay flights, hotel, and you have to pay for your procedure or your pills, whatever it is. So it's very expensive. It's not just like something you can choose to do on a whim. You have to be like financially ready for that. So, but there are a lot of resources for women, specifically in Texas and other states where it's illegal, where they can help you financially because of your situation and because you have to travel and etc. So I kind of did my research, and my mom had a friend who went through something similar, so they had a couple resources that they gave to me, and I called, I told them everything about me. They wanted to know everything. And they kind of just calculated it to see what they could help me with. And I think the pill itself ended up being free, like through the resources. So I didn't have to pay for the pill, but flights and travel and
so
food.
Was the pill the abortion?
Yes. So I took the pill form. I did not get the procedure. The procedure to me is how do I say this? Like, it's too
easy.
Not even that. It's just, it's gruesome.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's gruesome and it's invasive.
So how many weeks? How long did it take to get there?
To get there?
Once you made the decision.
When I got into New Mexico and I got my scan, so you have to do like an initial ultrasound, and then the next day you go through with your abortion. When I got there and they did my scan, I was 4 weeks pregnant because I was waiting for it. I caught it super early, and I actually took the test at 3 weeks, like I said, but I had to wait for a period before they could they didn't have appointments, so I had to schedule for the next week. That's when I was able to fly out.
It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know when they suggest the procedure more. Like I think when it's that early, the pills are so much. It's pretty.
I mean, they kind of always try to shove the procedure at you. I don't know, because it's like a one and done, just like this. The pill is a little different. It's a lot more painful, but it's a lot less invasive and a lot less gruesome, in my opinion. I've seen videos, like when I was doing my research on this, I did watch videos of the procedure and things like that, and I couldn't even watch it, much less go through it.
Yeah.
So the pill, you have two. You have one that you take, and it kind of slowly cuts off whatever life is like feeding the baby. So I don't know if it's like nutrients or your blood, whatever it is, but it kind of cuts that off, so it like kills the growth.
The pill's supposed to kill the growth, right?
kills the growth.
Eliminate the baby, and then it's supposed to be 2 pills.
That's
And
what
then the other
That's
pill
what I'm telling.
helps it run through your cervix, right?
Yeah, so you take the first pill, it stops the growth, and then you take the second one, and it basically just sheds everything out of your cervix. So it's not just, it's everything. So you bleed for months. And that's why I'm saying they try to push the procedure, because you have this procedure, they vacuum it all out, and then you bleed for like a week. Versus the pill, I bled for 3 months after. Straight. Like heavy max, and you can't wear tampons you have to risk infection. So I was wearing these big maxi pads.
Welcome to my life!
I know.
With the maxi pads.
The abortion at 12. I'm 57. We didn't have that option. We just
Yeah.
had the procedure.
I can't
And it
even
was-
imagine.
It was terrible. The worst pain in my whole entire life.
I'm sorry.
And now they at least have things like sedatives that they give you and stuff like that, but you also
Pain pills.
you have to
Things.
you have to pay extra for that too.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like just a whole thing. So anyways, I got there, I had my appointment, they did my ultrasound, told me everything I wanted to know about the pregnancy, but they have to tell you how far along you are for like they have to do like a kind of a mental like screening on you, basically, to make sure you're like sound enough to make this decision.
Right.
And then you go back, you fill out a bunch of paperwork, so they sit down with a nurse and explain it to you. They give you the first pill at the appointment, and then I took the second one home with me because they gave me that option, because you take it and it takes 6 to 12 hours to
The second one.
to work, like for you to start bleeding.
Yeah,
And then
so
once
you
you
wanted to be
start,
off for that,
you
yeah.
don't stop. And it's like,
And then you miscarry.
you miscarry essentially, so you feel like all the cramps, and like I mean I was literally bent over in the bathtub throwing up with a heating pad and like things like that. And my mom was on that trip with me. She was nowhere to be found. Like I was just so alone. And
Her relationship with her mom is a different
it's very
topic.
complicated.
Yeah.
But I felt so alone, and I missed my 4-month-old baby that I just had to leave for 3 days. And like I have my baby's dad on the phone with me now that I'm getting this abortion. He's back to being a complete douchebag, and he's just like not responding, doesn't care to help, doesn't care to send money, like doesn't give a crap. Like he's just like doing his own thing back with his ex-girl, like whatever. So I was just so alone, and I think that also that part of the experience made me feel like I made the right choice. Like it kind of
validated.
it helped me validate it in my mind, because if that's what I was going through just with that, because things had gotten so much worse with him, what was I going to go through with a second pregnancy, a second baby, a second lifetime?
And mind you, listeners, at the time, she is 18 years old with a 4-month-old baby, and had she wasn't even 18 and a half. Okay?
I was like freshly 18.
Exactly. So here's my question to you. When you got these resources and you went to go do this, did they not, I'm sorry, I thought, I was under the impression they helped with airfare, hotel.
They can. There
Okay.
are resources for that.
Okay.
I don't remember if I didn't qualify or
Maybe after like a waiting period.
Also there's a waiting period. Also they have such
But you
high
got in
customer
quick.
volume.
But you got in quick.
Well, with the clinic, yes. But as far as the resources go, you have to wait. And if they don't catch you one time, then you got to make it to your appointment either way.
Right.
So I did not have to pay for my pill, but I did have to pay for my flight there, my flight back, my hotel. My mom did help with that, and food.
Yeah.
And
Expensive.
transportation, Ubers, like to get to the clinic, to get from the airport, like things like that. So, I mean, it wasn't cheap. But there are resources that will help with airfare, that'll help with food, that'll give you Uber vouchers, that'll give you all of this other stuff. But it's if you have the time. And I wanted it done and over with as soon as possible because I have part morale about me. I didn't want to wait too long until this was like a baby with a heartbeat and arms and legs and all this other stuff. But also because I just wanted to know that I was safe, pretty much. Like I was safe from Ethan. I didn't have to do this again. That it was going to be okay.
Well, let me tell you, I am extremely proud of you. Again, this is a voice that is not pro-abortion. And it's hard to say that because, again, circumstances, depending on the situation, yada, yada, yada. But choice, right? I love you. You are in my life, a part of my life. You are somebody that I have taken under my wings since before you were pregnant, the first time. And you have brought a lot of joy into my life between you and your daughter. And I'm proud of you. I don't look at you different because you did what you did, because you had an abortion. I just wish that I just wish I had more resources to be there for you so you didn't have to make that decision.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is help support you, whether that's financially, emotionally, whatever it is. Like, I wish I was at a place in my life where you being in my life, I could have said, you know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Yeah. Because
you have me.
When it's sad because that choice was so easy to make. And
Because of your situation.
And
yeah.
that, like, that's what hits me, like, morally, is that it was so easy to me. It was so easy to make that choice. And, like, it shouldn't have been, because I should have thought about it more, and I should have. But
it is what it is.
I couldn't. There was nothing else I could think of than I need this to disappear.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, I respect the hell out of you, and I am proud of you. You making that decision doesn't sway my love for you. It doesn't make me look at you in a bad way. And, I love you. But that doesn't change the way you are a different situation than a lot of people.
Right.
You are also in the same situation as a lot of people. But you are not using abortion as birth control.
And ever since then, I've been on birth control. I've been safe. I've winded my P's and Q's. I don't get with baby dad anymore. Like,
right.
I'm smarter about my decisions because I had to go through that. And I feel like if you're going to go through that and you're going to make that choice because you feel that's the only thing you have to do, then at least learn from it.
Yeah, learn from it and
Right.
change. And you're beautiful, and I understand it. I can't help but feel the way I feel, as I said before, because if you were my daughter, you would have been in my house.
Well, if I were your daughter, I would have never been in that situation to begin with.
Oh, that's just because you love me.
Well, it's because it's true, because you would have cared for me. I would have had a place to live. I wouldn't have been living with him in the first place. We wouldn't have been unsupervised at 16 in the first place.
Hell no, you wouldn't.
So, like I said, it's all circumstantial.
Yeah.
If I were
True.
your daughter, I would have never been in that situation to begin
Right.
with, and I wouldn't even probably have her out.
Oh, well, I'm glad you do.
Me too.
That's what I'm saying. It's just circumstances.
You'll have to bleep that out.
It's circumstances on how you're gonna. Right, and parents, you need to think about the situation.
Yeah.
You have to think about the situation because you were the influence. Like she said, you could have prevented it. Don't get mad at your child because they're in the situation that you could have prevented. Don't prevent them after
As a
that.
parent,
Yes.
as a parent
And
to
if
a
they-
young
Yeah.
parent.
Yes, exactly. And if they are in that situation and it's too late, you need to do a better job of supporting them. Once it's happened, it's happened. You need to work with that.
I agree, and I think that's a huge thing. That's a huge
It's no
thing.
longer your life; it's their life. They are now the parent, but you can support them.
So, thank you very much, sweetheart. I appreciate you being here tonight, and I love you.
Feeding off of what our young guest was saying,
Yeah.
she made a huge impression on me.
Yeah.
You've made a huge impression on me. I just can't believe what I've heard from you. You've experienced so much at your age. The message that you conveyed has been deeply imprinted on me.
Me too.
The fact that you
All of
even,
us.
yeah, the fact that you even mentioned they need to fix the foster system first.
Huge.
I didn't even think about that.
Me
And
either.
the fact that she thought about that, the fact that you thought about that, the fact that you thought about that being such a young mom too, it makes me so proud of you because you're thinking about if you were thinking about your own future in that way and making better decisions, that just made you have a better future for your own baby. And now I know what you're thinking about for your future. It's so impressive. Yes, it's just so impressive. Absolutely. Hey, do you guys remember, speaking of, because it's around that time, I guess when she was getting her abortion, y'all remember when all the women in Texas were pissed
Oh
at the
yeah.
Supreme Court
Oh,
when
yeah.
they overturned Roe versus Wade?
Yep.
So, all right. So what happened? So we're in Texas, for those of you who don't know. And what happened in Texas was they enacted a law banning abortions, most abortions, on September 1st, 2021. This law, known as the Texas Heartbeat Act, prohibits abortions after a fetal heartbeat is detected, typically around 6 weeks of pregnancy. In June 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, the landmark 1973 decision that legalized abortion nationwide. And following this ruling, Texas enacted additional legislation on August 25th, 2022, effectively criminalizing all abortions except in cases of medical emergencies or when the mother's life is in danger. Therefore, Texas has banned abortion since September 1st, 2021, with further restrictions imposed in August 2022.
Wow.
So, based off that, I personally believe it's based on circumstances, just like you all do. Every circumstance is very, very different. Many much more critical than others, in my opinion. In some instances, very crucial and misunderstood. I think the problem here is that there are whores. Like, straight up, I think
Like,
there's whores.
whores,
Not
yeah.
women,
Right.
but whores
Yes.
out there that can't keep
Yeah.
their legs closed and
Yeah.
abuse the system.
That's true.
Yeah, like they have many kids, manipulate and collect from the system and abort the rest.
Yep.
Or they simply whore and hide multiple abortions from their families because they're sexually irresponsible and face no consequences. Yes, bitches, I'm talking to you. With these resources available to them.
That's true.
That's
They're
true.
so
I agree with that.
irresponsible, they won't take a Plan B pill on time, but they'll get an abortion when it's alive. Like, these are whores, not women, not girls, but whores that need to be stopped. You're the problem. You're the reason why us women are having real problems.
And they're the reason why. Well, I'm not gonna say they are the reason, but probably has a lot to do with why Texas has a legalized abortion.
Yeah, they weren't.
It's not birth control.
Exactly. You weren't beaten and you weren't raped, but some were beaten and raped. But you weren't. They weren't beaten or raped. So it's not a medical emergency. It won't literally kill them to have the baby. They're the ones that take advantage of the system. Then every year the IRS pays them out $2,000 per kid or whatever it might be, and then they abort the rest. Like the poor children that made it. I feel bad. For those children in those families.
Right.
That's not okay. Those children are not even cared for. Yeah. They just
And listen,
they just made it.
and we're not talking about children that are less fortunate, children that are raised, brought up, born into poor neighborhoods or whatever. No, we're not. Look, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, don't use abortion as birth control. There are circumstances that should give women the choice to choose.
Right. I
Yeah,
agree.
children are not
Right.
possessions. They're not property to make money off of.
And
They
they're
are-
not paychecks.
Yes. They're
Exactly.
to be nurtured. They're little babies.
Yeah.
They're little children.
They're products of
You
you.
can mold them into something so great that can change this world.
Yeah.
That can change your nation. There's just so much that you can do, like whores.
Whores,
You know what I'm saying?
don't be a whore.
So I personally think that there should be a new law in place instead that says, like, to those specific women, after a certain amount of times, you can't have abortions. You are now required to burn your tubes or have another procedure
I agree.
that permanently disables you from getting pregnant.
I agree.
Yeah.
So glad you said that.
Some other solution other
Take the
than
bitch's
Yes.
uterus out.
Yeah, don't spread. Yeah, another solution other than spread your legs, create this miracle in life that women like me didn't get to experience, and will make that baby suffocate looking for its mommy frantically. Now, I'm not one to judge, but if you're guilty of doing this, you will be judged. In
Damn
front of,
right.
Mhm, in front of all those lives you took. That's what I believe.
You know what?
In
I
heaven,
love
they're gonna
you.
face them.
I am so grateful that you said that, because that was the only piece missing from what the point we're trying to get across. Like,
There
there's
needs to be a
compassion,
solution, yeah.
there's love. Yes, there's opinions.
But what's the solution?
Yeah.
You know?
Be responsible.
Yeah. If they
Be
can't figure it
responsible.
out themselves, what can we do to figure it out for them?
Remove the uterus.
If they want to be children having children, well, then you need to discipline these children. Do something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's that.
Exactly.
I agree.
Exactly. And when I say discipline these children, it could be a 30-year-old child who's just popping out babies. They are not mentally adults.
No. Yeah, I get it.
And see, I agree with you as well. I mean, just like our guest speaker, her situation.
Yeah.
I agree with what she had to go through. and
Absolutely.
The decision she made. for herself.
absolutely. You know,
So there's that circumstance.
it's a circumstance. Yeah.
You know.
So I believe
I
in
just don't think
pro-choice.
that you should be out there having abortions
Yeah.
for birth control.
So I'm going to say it again because I'm the me of this group. I do not believe in abortion as birth control. I do not believe in abortion at a point where they are babies. Just because they're not born does not make them not babies. Okay? Unless there is some kind of situation like molestation, incest, like where it wasn't your choice. If you're a female and you have a baby inside of you and you weren't willing to make that baby, then
Right.
you should have a choice.
Exactly.
But if you lay down and you had a baby and you chose to be irresponsible, I don't feel like it's on that baby.
Yeah. Why aren't you locked up?
Exactly. Like, it's just, I just don't. And I do understand our girl right here, my little love bug. I understand her situation. I do. I don't judge her for it, but it doesn't change my opinion. And if she were my daughter, her situation would have been different to where I would have encouraged her to have that baby. She would have had that baby and I would have been here to help her, but I'm not her parent. I'm not her mother. And that's not her situation. So circumstantial, based on the circumstances, it's different for everybody. But I don't want our women in our country trying to solve what is called a problem and putting themselves in harm's way and dying over it. I do think that women need resources.
I agree.
And you need to make better decisions. It's come to a
And
point.
I do think they need to
Yeah.
make better decisions.
It's come to the point where the government's made the decision for us because we've been irresponsible. So
And
we
they're
need
the
to
government, and they shouldn't be able to do that.
Step it up.
Mm-hmm.
The
Respect.
government shouldn't be able to do that. It should be a moral thing.
The government
But-
should not have control over anybody's body.
They should
Right.
not.
I agree.
But
So prove to them that you're responsible enough to take care of it yourself then.
and be an adult.
Yes.
And if you're not an adult, parents out there who have younger children, be an adult. Pay attention to what your children are doing behind closed doors, because there shouldn't be closed doors.
Right back in my day.
Damn it!
Back in my day. It wasn't even that long ago. I'm only 40.
Ah.
But 41, I'm sorry, my birthday just passed.
Woo, yeah, it did.
I remember just being a teenager. And my father was like, "Why's your door closed?
Uh-huh.
You better open it. Why is it quiet?
Yeah,
Why are you being suspicious?
Yeah.
Do I need to take this door down?"
yeah. And they would.
And they would back in the day. Nowadays, you got kids and they're kicking their parents out the door, and that's okay.
Yeah, and as long as the parents don't have to deal with them, they're fine.
It's like, and then they just leave them with a screen in there.
But
Of a
that's-
hyper-sexualized society,
But that's our generation.
thinking they're not pretty enough. And they-
Our generation is doing that to our kids. Our generation is normalizing
Mhm.
segregation
Our
from
gener-
family.
Our generation, I hate to say it, but our generation influenced all this bullshit.
I know, and it's bullshit.
It's
And,
bullshit.
and we're not editing that
Because-
out, just so
because-
you know it's
Well, here's
bullshit.
the difference. We made it look cool, right? We made like cool look cool, but they make it entitled. We're like, no, but we were disciplined and cool.
Right,
You're just entitled and not cool.
right. Not
Making
cool at all.
Making bad decisions. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're a bunch of brats.
Yes.
Except for the young lady that was just here because she's had some life experiences as if she was 40.
Yeah, let's not leave out the responsible young adults and young women and young ladies and
Yeah.
even the girls, you
Yeah.
know, under your circumstance.
And
We're
the
not
young
talking
men
to you.
too.
Yeah,
And the
we're
young
not-
men
yeah.
too.
We're not
I have a
talking to you.
20
Yeah.
21-year-old son.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. That is the last thing he wants.
Yeah.
Right.
Because my son doesn't believe in abortion.
Yeah.
So I was born 81, right? And my mom would have never allowed me to be in a room with a boy, right? But let me make this clear. But my mom was not a religious, she has faith, but she was not a religious holy roller. There was no fear in my mother's home growing up. And I come from a broken home. I come from a military background. My parents were all in the military. My step parents too. My father, my biological father, oh, don't even go there. He's a whole different story. I'm so glad I didn't have to grow up with him. I grew up with my mother and my stepfather, who I call my father because he's earned that, right? And my parents weren't dealing with that shit. They were like, no, like they were like not the cool parents. So I lied about where I was going, and I, did these things and whatever. And like my dad worked a lot. My stepdad, who I call dad, he worked a lot. So it was just mom, and she had my younger sister. And it was like, catch me if you can. Like, like I'm doing this, now I'm doing that. You have my sister to worry about. We're 8 years apart, almost. So I was doing things and moving and grooving and doing those things. And this is back in like 90s, right? In the 90s, you had all kinds of resources. You had health departments that would give you birth control. You didn't need a parent. You could lie about your name. You could do all kinds of things. If you needed an abortion, you went to, I had girlfriends that did Planned Parenthood. I was one of the lucky ones that just never had to experience that until I got into my damn 20s, unfortunately, like I told y'all before. But, you're right. It does stem from the parents, but at the same time, now is a complete different time than what it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
But time doesn't matter when it comes to if you're going to be there for your child or not.
It does not. But parents are all about putting a screen in front of their kid, It takes 2 parents to run a household now financially. It's just a lot different. So when you're dealing with these kind of things and you have children that you're trying to raise and you're going to the sports events and you're doing things to support your children and love your children and make lunches and be involved and do these things. Look, the only difference is back in our days, 70s, 80s, 90s, is that we didn't have trackers. Our kids have trackers. They've had trackers since after the 2000s, right? Pay attention. It doesn't mean you're going to stop a pregnancy, right? But you could. There's so many distractions with everybody nowadays that it's easy, like I just said, to put your kid in front of a screen or do whatever and live your life and do these things, and then your kids are running around doing these things. To hell with Life 360. It's a great app, but just because you can see where your kid is doesn't mean you know what they're doing. Kids are going to be kids. And kids, with all due respect, America, kids like to like the rabbits. It's what they do. And unfortunately, little girls don't even have an orgasm until they're an adult. They don't even know what they're doing. It's the boys that get off. And it's the girls that go through this shit. You know?
They've been taught to. It's a hypersexualized society.
Right. You know? Everything's about sex. I really do think that yes, abortion, I think it's wrong. I think it's murder, but I think it's circumstantial. I think it depends on the circumstance of whether you are raped, molested, your body, your like the baby or the mom. Like, come on, you know? But at the same time, it should never be used as birth control. And I will tell y'all something that none of you know. I have an aunt in my family that has had, don't quote me, it's either 11 or 14 abortions. That is using abortion as birth
How
control.
does she even have a uterus left?
Off with her head. She shouldn't even be allowed to exist.
She's not.
And I said it, and I don't give a shit. It's not okay. So, if you're using abortion as birth control, and even if it's not an abortion, y'all, if you're going to get a Plan B pill every time you hook up with some dude after you leave the club or the bar or whatever, then you need to check your mental state, because it's not okay. It's not okay. But if you're in a situation that is difficult and you're trying to figure out how to take care of yourself and a child, just because I understand it doesn't mean I agree with it. But at the same time, don't wait until this baby is like a baby. Like, in my opinion, people shouldn't be having abortions if it's not life-threatening. Like, past certain weeks. You know what I mean? I don't even know what those weeks are exactly, but like, when I was pregnant in 03 to 04, I couldn't find out the sex of my child until he was 20 weeks.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that because I was 4 months pregnant when I had an abortion.
Your circumstance is different. You were molested. That's
Still,
huge.
What if
That's
abortion
huge.
wasn't
And
legal?
you were 12.
What if abortion wasn't legal and I had to have that baby?
Well, then your life would have been different and crazy and is what it is. You know? And look, I don't want that for anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
That's why
be
I'm saying
responsible.
circumstances.
Be responsible.
In your situation, you're 12 years old, your body's not even done growing. So it's like,
Yeah,
what's going to happen to you if you had to go through full-term labor?
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's that. Yeah, definitely circumstantial.
I'm just saying, y'all, look. So this is the second part of this episode. We took the time to take the time because it's important and everybody has a difference of opinion. The bottom line is, do what you need to do for you and your family, but understand it's not okay to use abortion as birth control in any of our opinions, even though we're divided in what we're saying, you know? And use protection, take precaution, do these things. But also understand it doesn't make you a devil or a horrible person because you made a decision that other people don't agree with. And maybe other people shouldn't be so judgmental, because what are you doing in your life that has nothing to do with abortion that would make people judge you? Am I right?
Yeah.
So,
A lot of things in life.
yeah.
Not just abortion. Right,
So,
exactly.
try to learn to love each other, try to learn to give each other grace and compassion. And that's pretty much all we can do in life. And if we can all do that at many points in our lives as a community of Americans, as, you know, whatever you want to call it, as a collective group in the world would be such a better place. Stop judging one another. You're entitled to your opinion, yes. Your religious beliefs and your morals stand ground, yes. But it doesn't give you the right to hate one another. You can disagree and still love one another.
Stop being whores.
Yeah,
Right.
all y'all, boys and girls.
Politically incorrect. Over and out.
Bitches.